Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our lunch panelists. Again, I'm Nicole LaVoi. I'm the Associate Director of the Tucker Center. And I feel like we've already had 5 days of conference. That's an intense morning. So this will be a nice way. We're just going to kind of have a little change of pace. We're going to hear from some experts in girls and women in sport. They're going to share what they're doing. And I'll have some questions prepared, and we'll also have a Q&A. But I'll just introduce our wonderful panelists from well, I guess I'm left-right dyslexic, so on your left, on my right, okay, we have Karin Lofstrom. Karin is the Executive Director of CAAWS, and I'll specify what that means. CAAWS is the Canadian Association for the Advancement of Women's Sport and Sport, Women and Sport. She's been there since 1997, and she is an active participant, volunteer, leader, mentor, and advocate for girls and women in sport and physical activity, both in Canada and internationally. So Karin Lofstrom, just give a little wave. There we go. Okay, we have Lynda Ransdell, who is the current president of NAGWS. We have lots of acronyms represented at this table. So the National Association for Girls and Women in Sport and Sport. All right. Lynda's currently at Boise State University in the School of Kinesiology and does a lot of work with physical activity interventions. And since she's in the state of hockey, I will also note that she is a hockey player, and we have had some fun discussions about that. So she's here representing NAGWS and the newly formed partnership with the folks down at Greensboro, and I'll let Lynda talk more about that center. Sitting next to Lynda is Kathy Babiak, and Kathy is the new co-director of the new Women's Sport Foundation partnership called SHARP. See if I can get this one right. Sports, health, and activity, policy, research and policy. Okay, there will be a quiz later, all right? So Kathy's work has been mostly in sport management. She's done a lot of stuff with ethics and policy and governance and social responsibility, and we're really happy to have her as well, so welcome. Sitting next to Kathy is Judy Sweet, expert extraordinaire in all things women in sport. And we heard Judy's bio earlier today. Judy's been a leader in the NCAA and NACWA and NACDA and every other acronym out there. Judy's done it all. So Judy Sweet. And last but not least, Celia Slater, who is the co-founder with Judy of the Alliance for Women Coaches, which they will talk more about. Celia's done a lot of work with the NCAA Women's Coaching Academy and has been an advocate for promoting women of positions in power and sport, specifically in coaching. So we have a great panel. I hope you have lots of questions for them. What we're going to do is each person's going to talk a little bit about their respective center and their position and some key initiatives. We can't possibly cover everything everybody does, but we will certainly hear a lot of what everybody does. So Karin's going to start us out, and then once everyone's talked, we'll open it up for discussion and questions. So, Karin?
Great, thanks. After just seeing that video about the concussions, I had a great line from our Canadian women's hockey coach, Mel Davidson, and there had been a lot of discussions about concussions and having conferences about males. And she said, they need a conference around women's concussions from hitting the glass ceiling. Oh, I thought that was a cute line. Good afternoon. It's our 30th anniversary of CAAWS, the Canadian Association for the Advancement of Women in Sport and Physical Activity. So happy to be here sharing a brief look at what we do here at CAAWS. We were created to create an equitable sport and physical activity system in which girls and women had opportunity to both participate and lead in sport and physical activity. We were started in 1981, and we're looking at having an enhanced presence of girls and women at all levels and in all areas as athletes, participants, leaders, officials, coaches, and volunteers. So to be everywhere in the sports and physical activity system. I only have one slide of at a glance of our programs, but I will just talk about a few of the types of work that CAAWS does. We work in both the sport and the physical activity side, and we're focusing now on the areas of leadership, participation, education, and community engagement with a variety of initiatives, and I will speak to a few of them. With our physical activity work, we have 3 main programs that help encourage girls and women to be active across the lifespan. So our On the Move program targets inactive girls of 9 to 18 years old, and it provides program leaders, physical education teachers, and others that are involved in delivering the programs with ideas on how to focus on girls-only programs that are fun, non-competitive, and with a skill development component, and have female leaders. We find often these programs for young girls, they don't get a chance to have the development for skills that they can later maybe get involved more in sports, but if they don't have the initial basis, they have a hard time. We've also taken this program to be looking also at working with Aboriginal girls and also girls that are newcomers to Canada. And Karima had a poster out there with one of our programs because this area, both the Aboriginal girls and newcomers, there's specific barriers we heard a lot about here about with cultural and family support that there is definitely different needs that need to be looked at. We have a program for Mothers in Motion, and it's a program to encourage the moms to be active as role models for their family and involve their families in physical activity. And we started out with the program with moms of newborns. And then a year or 2 later, the moms said, okay, my kids are older, now what do I do? So we've developed the program to have a program for information on toddlers, preschool kids, school-age kids, and activities that are age appropriate, and also there's information around nutrition, healthy snacks, that type of information. It's all web-based, and you find on our website, thecaawс.ca. And the last program on the physical activity side that we've been focusing on is around women 55 to 70 and physical activity. And this has been one of the newer initiatives that's taken off kind of like crazy with the baby boomer population demographic growing. We initially did focus group works with women across the country that were active in the age group 55 to 70, that were inactive. We don't say any women are not active, because women we know are active in some piece. And then the stakeholder groups that were supposedly programming and running programs for these women. And from the findings, we developed a focus group report and a making the case document where hopefully it's tools for programmers and decision makers, provides the necessary stats and facts so that they can help when they're requesting funding to either enhance the programs that they're doing or make them more appropriate to what they learned from hearing from the women's voices, what they would do to get this target age group interested. It was interesting when we started the program, we trying to come up with a name for it. Well, it was quite interesting because women of this age group don't call us seniors and don't call us old. We're allowed to be called seniors if we're going to get a discount. So it was quite interesting. So we framed it as the 55 to 70, and that's how we referred to it. But then it's been going for about 5 years. Some women are now past 70, or I'm active and I'm 72. So we've added the 55 to 70 plus. I mean, I think the research was done on the 55 to 70 demographic, but I mean, if you're active older, I mean, that's a bonus for sure. On the sports side of the work that we do a lot around women in leadership programming, and it's targeted at women that are volunteering or working in the sport and physical activity field. And we've set up a series of workshops that we've had women trained across the country to be able to deliver in our different provinces and territories. And the topics include effective communication, conflict resolution, influencing change, networking, and work-life balance. We had those discussions earlier today on some of those being issues. We've also started a specific session on Aboriginal women in leadership, because again, there is some perspectives that are a bit different, and developed a youth leadership session. We've had these conferences, or delivered these sessions at conferences, both at the provincial level and national level with our sport organizations. In Canada, we do things in English and in French. And as well, I've even developed, I had the work translated to Spanish, because we've been doing some work with the PASO, the Pan Am Sport Organization, their women's committee. So I've had delivered the workshops as well in Spanish with those folks. And we've just been invited to present at the Los Angeles in February at the IOC Women in Sport Congress as well, so a better focus on the leadership program. The newest part for our leadership program, this past March 8th, International Women's Day, we launched a new Women in Leadership Network. It's an online site. There were some little bookmarks that I left on a table out there if you're interested to have a look. The site is there to support and promote women's leadership, where members can build their skills, connect, share ideas, discuss issues, find solutions, and take actions. It's free to join the network. It is for women only. So when we launched this site, at the same time, we also created a section on our regular CAAWS website is what men can do, because we know we need men in the solution to support women's leadership to continue to grow and have more women involved. On the network site, we have created videos, new, more multimedia type of thing, where we have Canadian leaders giving advice on a variety of issues. It was quite interesting. It was very positive. Women don't often get asked to talk about their, whatever their expertise is, and then have it on public display. So it was people were quite flattered to be asked to be involved in the network. So that's been very positive. And then again, they're telling all their friends that their videos are on the site. So it's been great addition. As well, we've created a resource called Women on Boards. So it provides information on why boards should have more women, what we as women bring to the table, and ways to make boards more appealing to women. It could be, committees or boards. The male board that has their meetings always at 5 o'clock. Well, women that have families, that's not a time where you can get to meetings. So how do you make more common sense structures to have the opportunities for women to be involved? As well, CAAWS has been working for quite a few years on addressing homophobia in sport, which is still a barrier to many girls and women's participation as coaches, athletes, volunteers, and leaders. And on May 18th, this past year, at International Day Against Homophobia, we partnered with the Coaches of Canada, Athletes Can, our national team athletes association, Sport Officials of Canada, the True Sport Movement, and Sport Canada to launch a Step Out, Speak Out ally campaign for inclusive sport. So this is a new tool that we've got, having allies speaking about issues of being more inclusive in sport for all the roles that people play in sport as athletes, coaches, and officials. And hopefully collectively we'll be able to make the environment more positive for all. CAAWS also provides our expertise and guidance to sport and physical activity communities across Canada. We work with international organizations to support increase in gender equity in sport around the world. And I currently serve as Secretary Treasurer of another acronym, IPSCAVE, International Association for Physical Education and Sport for Girls and Women. And just a little plug, we're holding our next conference in April 2013 in Havana, Cuba. So you're all invited to come and submit abstracts when the call comes out for inclusion in the program. You have to do those kind of things. It's great, eh? In our work going forward, we hope to be part of the solution to find ways to ensure that all girls and women enjoy the benefits of being involved in sport and physical activity as participants and leaders. We have one new resource that's coming out in February looking at the psychosocial factors affecting girls and women's participation in sport. We've been doing a lot of work. They have a long-term athlete development program, which has, the only differentiation between men and women is in max VO2. We know in girls' involvement in sport is not only about, the physiological differences, is about the psychosocial side. So our male coaches are saying when this is available because we need help. It's quite interesting to see that they realize that they don't get everything and it doesn't work the same for girls. So that's been very positive. I think in going forward to the things that CAAWS wants to continue to push for is more women in leadership and decision-making positions, both in the paid and the volunteer roles throughout all levels of sports, and hopefully to get more men to support the goal of achieving gender equity in sport. The resources that I talked about, they're all downloadable for free off our website, and you also are welcome to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And there was a few copies of some of the resources at the front table. If you have a chance, you're welcome to help yourself. And I'll have some business cards if you want to follow up later on some of our organization happenings. And I think I'm doing another one as well. Or do it at the end? Sure. Oh, perfect. Great.
Did you give me this?
Well, it's a pleasure to be in Minnesota for a number of reasons. Number one, I get to visit the University of Minnesota and see the Tucker Center in action, so that's been a lot of fun. I also had an opportunity to get a University of Minnesota women's ice hockey sweatshirt, a coveted item in my wardrobe for a long time. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And it's always fun to network and interact with others who are as passionate about enhancing opportunities for women in sport as we all are. So I'm here to represent the National Association for Girls and Women in Sport, also known as NAGWS. This organization was founded, believe it or not, in 1899 by a group of progressive women, one of whom was from Oberlin College and another of whom was from Smith College, two places that I've been affiliated with, ironically. But they got together and they said, you know, we're playing this game known as women's basketball, and we need to start to get some rules together. So as a result of the need for rule books in women's basketball, the National Association for Girls and Women in Sport was founded. Our mission is to develop and deliver equitable and quality sport opportunities for all girls and women through relevant research, advocacy, leadership, development, educational strategies, and programming in a manner that promotes social justice and change. We are currently served by 9 members of a board of governors, and we do have a past board of governors here. Sonia, you want to stand up or wave or something? She's responsible for developing this logo right here. She's in sport marketing. So thank you, Sonia. And Shelton, where's Shandell? She's over there. She's in charge of our day-to-day operations at our main office. So we appreciate all of her work. We have approximately 2,500 members, and that has shrunk some from what used to be about at least 5,000 members only about 6 years ago. So I think our work is not done. We still have a lot to do to maintain members and to continue to generate interest and passion towards women in sport. Some of the activities with which we've been associated with, has anybody ever heard of the organization AFERD, American Alliance for Health, Phys Ed, Recreation, and Dance? Okay, we are an organization and association under AFERD, and at the national convention, we have a number of awards and honors that we give out, which are cherished, I think, and it's one of the highlights of the year for me. So we give out an award known as the Guiding Woman in Sport, and folks like Billie Jean King have won that award. Ice hockey fans in the house, raise your hand. Angela Ruggiero was a guiding woman in sport a few years ago. And she's a graduate student here at the University of Minnesota, so right. The Rachel Bryant Lecture is another award that we garner, and that is for an individual who's made significant contributions in research and leadership for women in sport. We have the Pathfinder Awards, which are given to leaders in each of our 50 states throughout the nation, and those are nominated by the state associations, and the honors and awards are given out at the national convention. We have the Nell Jackson Awards. That was established in 1992, and it was designed to recognize the contributions of minority women who have demonstrated outstanding potential in scholarship, coaching, administration, and leadership. And Akila is back there. She is the chair of the Nell Jackson Awards Committee this year. So if you have nominees that she should consider, please feel free to contact her during the rest of the conference. Another thing we do is we co-sponsor a social with the Women's Sports Foundation, and at that social, we give out the Darlene Kluka Research Award. So there's several things that go on in conjunction with the National Convention. Another thing which I think Minnesotans, did I say that right, will be interested in is the Wade Trophy. The National Association for Girls and Women in Sport has been very instrumental in developing and maintaining the Wade Trophy. In 1978, it was originally designed to honor Margaret Wade, who was sort of known as the mother of modern basketball. And she was a coach at Delta State University. Her record, get this, 109 wins to 6 losses. And she was their team was an arch rival of Immaculata College. And has anybody heard of the new movie, The Mighty Max? If you have not seen it, go see it. It's an awesome movie about sort of the genesis of women's collegiate basketball. So with this partnership between NAGWS and the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, we honor the outstanding player in women's basketball. The criteria are that these women demonstrate their commitment not just to basketball, but to their academic development and to the importance of acting responsibly both on and off the basketball court. Now, one of the interesting things to Minnesotans, any Lynx fans? I love the Lynx. I thought that this year's WNBA championship was one of the best I've seen in years, probably the best, actually, and not just because I'm a Lynx fan. But I went back and looked at the roster of the Minnesota Lynx, and the Minnesota Lynx have 3 former Wade Trophy winners on their roster. So Maya Moore, Candace Wiggins, Simone Augustus, and personally, I think Lindsay Whalen should have been on there. Didn't quite make it, but she had all the potential and all the criteria. So I think that possibly explains to a large degree the success of the team if you think about the criteria for that award. Another thing that we help out with is National Association of Girls and Women in Sport Day. And this event was started in 1987 as a day to remember U.S. volleyball player Flo Hyman, who died of Marfan syndrome. So as it stands now, NAGWS Day is basically a collaboration between 5 girl-serving organizations. And in addition to NAGWS, it's the National Women's Law Center, Women's Sports Foundation, Girl Scouts, and Girls Inc. So we all get together and we plan the event, we plan the theme, we plan the special events that occur in Washington, D.C., and so on. This year, the NAGWS Day is, or I should say NGWS Day, is February 1st, 2012. So if any of you are interested in setting up events to celebrate that day, we have a lot of resources on our website, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room who have participated in those type of events. A couple other resources that we have that I want to mention. We have several books. There's a new Title IX video that's out that several folks have used as a resource in their classes. And then we have some position statements online available on our website about topics such as minority women in sport, cheerleading as a sport. We also have a partnership with GLSEN, which is an organization to eradicate homophobia in collegiate level sport and even high school level sport. So we partnered with them to try to work on the issue of homophobia in the schools. And I want to finish with a current initiative because I know people usually listen to the first thing you say and the last thing you say. So this is a really important initiative that NAGWS is working on. We are partnering with the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and their program for advancing girls and women in sport and physical activity. And it's our new academic home. So similar to what the Sharp Center has with the Women's Sports Foundation, we've partnered with UNC Greensboro, and we are really excited about the opportunities that that presents. And one of the events that we just finished was a conference with about 110 registrants in Greensboro a couple weeks ago. Nicole was a featured speaker, did a great job, represented you well. But it was a great opportunity for us to work together to plan the conference and to continue to work on issues related to girls and women in sport. A couple other things we're working on. We have the Women in Sport and Physical Activity Journal. That will transition to UNC Greensboro very soon. And they have capabilities to manage the journal electronically. So folks can submit manuscripts electronically, reviews can be conducted electronically, and so we're catching up to the 21st century. So we really appreciate the partnership and the efforts that they've put into that. And the only other thing that I'd like to close with, something that I'm very passionate about. Last year, I published a paper in Joford looking at the number of studies that have been published relative to training female athletes. So I'm talking more physiological performance type issues. And so I surveyed journals, Strength and Conditioning Research, Research Quarterly, Med Science and Sport and Exercise, several journals that publish papers relative to females in training. Lo and behold, what I noticed is that there was a very, very small percentage of any papers on training that were published on female athletes. So one of the things that I'm absolutely committed to during this next year and beyond is trying to increase research on training in female athletes and performance. Training studies aren't easy to deliver. So we have to work together to figure out how can we do this, how can we answer those unanswered questions and improve the health and performance of female athletes. So if you're interested in any of our initiatives, if you'd like to volunteer for anything that we work on in the National Association for Girls and Women in Sport, I'd love to talk to folks afterwards. Thanks for the opportunity to talk and look forward to interacting more.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathy Babiak, and I'm from the U of M, not the University of Minnesota, but the University of Michigan. And I'm really, really excited and thrilled to be here this afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me on behalf of the SHARP Executive Leadership Team to talk about this exciting new partnership between the Women's Sports Foundation and the University of Michigan. This is a unique partnership between a nonprofit organization and a university institution. We are, as you can see from the panelists here, the new kid on the block. We don't even have a logo yet.
Talk to Sonia.
We have been informally operating and trying to build ourselves up for the last year, and we've just recently formalized the partnership with the Women's Sports Foundation. So are really excited and in moving forward with lots of momentum. And I'm going to take the next 5 or 6 minutes to share with you some of the things we're doing and some of our goals and hopes for what we aim to become at the SHARP Center. Our mission really is to commission and produce evidence-based research that's going to enhance the scope and quality of girls' and women's experiences with sport and physical activity. And through our experts on campus and through our partnership with the Women's Sports Foundation, we'll identify those trends and issues that need more research and carry out investigations in these areas. And one of the aims, and I think one of the reasons that the Women's Sports Foundation was looking for an institutional partner to house this activity for them, is to really use that research, use the findings of the research, all of the research we've been hearing about today, to increase awareness and about the opportunities and challenges and barriers in sport and physical activity participation, to really promote an informed public debate and advocate and lobby and change policy around issues related to women and girls and sport and physical activity. And that's something the Women's Sports Foundation has done well over many, many years. So in terms of the research focus of the SHARP Center, we really hope to have a broad and deep emphasis and focus on a number of areas of research, including professional and international sport and management, and this is not in order of priority. These are just some of the areas that have been identified as key for the SHARP Center. Legal and policy issues, such as Title IX monitoring with regard to participation. Fitness, health, and wellness, and looking at some of these issues and challenges and opportunities for women and girls across the lifespan. So starting when they're really young to some of the challenges and issues that older women face. And youth sports participation. And our approach at the SHARP Center in the University of Michigan is deeply committed to interdisciplinary work, interdisciplinary research. So we are bringing together and mobilizing the researchers on campus and hopefully across the country and around the world as well to look at, really assess and evaluate and research these issues from an interdisciplinary perspective, including psychological, economic, sociological, anthropological, many, many different perspectives, which will give us a richer understanding of these issues. And in order to further our objectives of supporting and enhancing research in this area, one of the first things that we've done through the Sharp Center is we held a small grants research competition at the University of Michigan campus. One of our objectives for this was to really bring together and catalyze researchers on campus that are really new to the table, so to speak, and who have done work or are doing work in the area of sport, health, activity for women and girls. And we held a competition. We selected 5 proposals. Each researcher received $15,000 to fund this project. We really tried to address the issues of scope and impact. So we funded a project, for instance, on patterns of physical activity among older women with diabetes. We funded a project that will hopefully further enhance our understanding of head impact and concussions in female athletes, how to reduce the risk of ACL injuries in female athletes, and a really interesting study that looks at urban African American youth and some of the issues and challenges around their participation in sport and physical activity. And this project was called the HAIR study, Hair, Activity, Identity, and Race. Another one of the initiatives that has really been a major undertaking and we're currently working on and engaging in is next May. We've all heard that it's the 40th anniversary of the passing of the Title IX legislation. We're hosting a national conference at the University of Michigan campus from May 9th to the 11th. So this is your formal invitation to attend. I hope to see many of you there. And the conference is called Title IX at 40, Progress and Promise, Equity for All. And we really wanted to explore what has happened over the last 40 years with respect to the impact Title IX has had on a number of different areas. And those different areas include Title IX and the link to physical health and fitness for women and girls. How has that passing of that legislation influenced or impacted issues around fitness and health? The link between Title IX and education and employment for women and girls. How has Title IX more broadly affected American culture? So looking at it from many of these disciplinary perspectives, psychological, social, and economic. And importantly, the link between Title IX and boys' and men's experiences in sport. So we hope that this conference is not just reflecting on what's happened in the past, but really a call to action for how we as researchers and policymakers and lobbyists and people who advocate for change can move forward for the next 40 years. So we want to use this as a platform to focus and commit the role of research in measuring outcomes to impact policy suggestions and advocacy. So since we are a new organization, a new entity in this field, we are trying to increase awareness and create community with key stakeholders, not just at the University of Michigan campus, but around the country and around the world. And so we don't even have a website yet, but we're working on that. We do have a Facebook page, so please be our friend or like us on Facebook. For more information about SHARP, I forgot to mention that within the University of Michigan, this is a partnership between the School of Kinesiology and the Institute for Research on Women and Gender. Both of those units have information about SHARP on their websites. And both are contributing resources to this center. So that's a real substantial commitment on the part of the University of Michigan. One of the exciting initiatives that we're planning and that we're working on developing is an establishment of, it's an electronic web-based resource. It's more not just a database for literature and academic research, which it will include, but we hope that we will be able to provide, provide full access for information such as data sets to researchers around the world. One of the things that the University of Michigan has done is create a partnership with the NCAA, and the University of Michigan houses NCAA data, things like graduation rates, student satisfaction surveys, and anonymizes it to clean it up, and it's accessible to anyone in the country or in the world who want to access that information. So that's something that we're working on, and hopefully maybe the next time you hear anything about SHARP, you'll hear about this resource database. Over the long term, we will generate new research and mobilize and catalyze our researchers on campus, create collaborations across institutions to generate new research. We're looking at submitting for training grants for doctoral students. It's an important way to move the mission and objectives forward. We've seen the really impactful role that doctoral students play in some of the research that we've heard today. We will have a visiting scholars program and offer fellowships for students and young researchers. And one of our aims is really to expand our pilot funding program nationally so that we will offer opportunities for researchers, such as many of you in the room, to support your research and be able to further the objectives of enhancing opportunities for women and girls in sport and physical activity. So I'll end there, and I look forward to your ideas and suggestions and thoughts as we build this exciting new partnership in this organization, and hope to include you all in the growth and development of SHARP. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Celia and I are going to collaborate and do a tag team on the Alliance of Women Coaches, so hopefully you can all hear us from here. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you and have an opportunity to share information about the Alliance of Women Coaches. Our history is not quite as extensive as the one that Lynda referred to, starting in 1899. We are approaching our 6-month anniversary. A little older than SHARP. Thank you. I want to give you some of the background of how the Alliance of Women Coaches came about, and Celia's going to talk about the solutions that we feel the Alliance provides. So I'm talking about the challenges that led us to believing that there was a real need for an Alliance of Women Coaches. We'd like to say that the Alliance of Women Coaches covers everything from A to Z except the X's and O's. We don't want to duplicate what the sports associations are doing. We want to complement it. We want to supplement what they're doing. So the basis of the challenges are ones that we referred to earlier today, and I'm going to give you some statistics to elaborate on the challenges that we identified, and then I want to share with you some comments that we've heard from the over 800 graduates of the NCAA Women Coaches Academy. The statistics come primarily from Acosta and Carpenter, and you probably are aware that they have been doing this longitudinal study for a very long time. I believe that they're approaching their 35th year of doing the study. But the time period for the statistics that I'm going to share with you is from 1977 to 2010. Today, or in 2010, 42.6% of women's teams were coached by a female head coach. This percentage is the second lowest in history. Less than half of women's teams are coached by a female. There are 21 fewer female coaches of women's teams than 2 years ago. When the athletics director is a female, more female coaches are likely. And I'd refer you to our website, which is called gocoaches.org. You can find us either at gocoaches.org or the Alliance of Women Coaches. And there's a great video clip of Celia and Charlotte West talking about what's happened with the numbers of women coaches. And Charlotte does a great job of identifying what has happened. And the numbers have gone, as she says, down, 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 down. In 1972, when Title IX became law, over 90% of head women's teams, women's teams were coached by a female head coach. And now we're at 42%, and we don't anticipate that that's going to change by itself. And that's really the impetus for the Alliance of Women Coaches. We want to change that. 57.4% of women's teams are coached by a male head coach. And while we respect the talents and abilities of the male coaches, when you look at the overall number of coaching positions that are available in men's sports and women's sports, less than 20% of head coaches are female. It's not that men don't have an opportunity to coach. In fact, they have 80% of the coaching opportunities. When the athletics director is male, fewer female coaches are likely. Less than 3% of men's teams are coached by a female head coach. 20% of all teams, men's and women's, are coached by a female head coach. And as I mentioned earlier, when Title IX was enacted in 1972, 90% of women's teams had a female head coach. We need to change the landscape. Of the 11,726 paid assistant coaches of women's teams, only 57% are female. And as I mentioned in my remarks this morning, that truly is our pool for potential head coaches. And if we have that pool at such a low percentage, then where are we going to draw the next generation of female head coaches? And then looking at information from Richard Lapchek's Racial and Gender Equity Report, Gender Report Card in College Sport, this is also an alarming statistic. African Americans held 7.2%, 4.8%, and 3.9% of the women's head coaching positions in the 3 NCAA divisions. And that includes both male and female African Americans who are in head coaching positions. That's not just based on female African Americans as head coaches. Alarming. So what are the coaches saying in respect to their experiences on campus? They often are the only female coach or one of a small number and feel isolated. They struggle with life-work balance decisions. They are not as willing to apply for new positions, especially if they have to uproot their families. They are not as confident applying for open positions as men who may be less qualified. Many don't feel comfortable with recruiting and fundraising. They are subject to negative recruiting. They have limited knowledge of Title IX history and requirements. They don't know how to deal with gender inequities. They are subject to homophobia. They don't feel they are given the resources that they need to be competitive. They are paid less than their male counterparts. Many have had no formal coaching training. They may have been athletes at the school where they were hired to coach and then receive little or no mentoring or professional development or support. Overall, they would like to feel more connected and supported. And that's what has led us to the creation of the Alliance of Women Coaches. Celia had a dream back in 2001 or 2002, and it may have even started before that, that she wanted to work with women coaches. And that's what led to the creation of the NCAA Women Coaches Academy and the Alliance of Women Coaches. And I'm happy to turn it over to Celia to share more of that history with you.
Thank you, Judy. I wanted to talk a little bit about the NCAA Women Coaches Academy, which is now a program of the Alliance of Women Coaches. We started it, as Judy mentioned, our very first academy was in 2003. Since then, we've had 24 academies. Our 25th academy will be this December. And we have over 800 grads that have come through this program. Right now, we have around an 80% retention rate of the women who have gone through the academy are still at coaching at some level. The academy, when we took the proposal to the NCAA to start the academy, it was a retention strategy. As Judy's mentioning, we're losing women in coaching at an alarming rate. The program itself is 4.5 days of like 8 in the morning till 10 at night. It's intense. And we have everything, like Judy said, from A to Z except the X's and O's. We do conflict resolution, communication strategies, philosophy development, Title IX, a history of women in sport, and those types of classes for 4.5 days. So one of the things we found with the Women Coaches Academy is that a big element of what's helping us retain these women is this network of support that they're getting connected to through the Women Coaches Academy. What's really unique about the academy is that it's 4.5 days of women coaches from all sports, all divisions, head coaches, assistant coaches, women that have been coaching 1 year, and some women in the room have been coaching over 30. So it's a very interesting mix of all the different sports and all the different divisions and experience. So from this experience and this network of support that we found has been very successful in keeping women in the profession, some alumni we started having a dialogue with some alumni from the academy that wanted to create an organization that would keep them connected and keep these professional development and mentoring opportunities going. So they wanted to have it strictly for the Coaches Academy grads, but then they started thinking only 126 women a year right now get through the NCAA Women Coaches Academy. You have to apply. It's tough to get in. We have a long waiting list. So the grads decided we need to open this to all women coaches. And they decided that they not only wanted to open it to all women coaches, they wanted to open it to all women coaches at every level. So the Alliance of Women Coaches is open to women at the college level, high school level, youth sport level, club sport level. It does not matter what level. You are welcome to be a member of the Alliance, which makes us a really unique organization in that we are probably, I don't want to say we're the first, but right now we are the only organization, coaches organization, that is for all sports, all levels. Our purpose, I'll just read that to you. When I get my glasses on, I will read it to you. The purpose of the Alliance is to provide support to women in the coaching profession through ongoing career development programs, as well as to increase the number of women coaches at all levels in all sports. We aim to be a strong advocate for equal opportunities for all women in athletics, regardless of age, race, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, and/or religion. And all of our goals kind of revolve around these three themes. How can we give support to the women coaches that we have, and how can we recruit the next generation of women into coaching? How can we provide professional development and growth opportunities for all of our members? How can we provide mentoring opportunities? And one of the things that we've talked a lot about is not just, we talk so much about mentoring, and we've kind of decided we're not sure people really know, how to be a mentor, and how do you find a mentor, and how do you develop those relationships with mentors. So, and how do you find people who are not your mentor, but your advocate. So that's another area for us that we're looking at. How can we improve that aspect of what we offer? The last piece for us is advocacy. And we really want to be a strong voice on what is going on at every level in sport. Our primary focus has started out on the collegiate level in the NCAA, because the NCAA does sponsor the Coaches Academy. So that is where a bulk of our membership has come from. But we are looking at how can we have a voice and let the people in the leadership roles in our country know that it matters. It matters that women are seen, that women are in leadership roles, and that we bring something unique to the table. And so that's very important to us, that we have that voice heard. I want to mention, for me, I've never been to a conference like this, and I want to thank Nicole for inviting us. And it's been so refreshing to me because I see so many interesting ways to collaborate. And when Judy and I were walking around, just looking at the posters this morning, and then we were listening to all the research that's going on, and we've looked at, well, how can we collaborate with people like you, and how maybe give some of your research arms and legs and a voice, and those types of things, so that your research can then be put into action. And I know we are collaborating a little bit already. Nicole is going to come and speak at our We Coach You, which is a regional program we do. We're going to be at McAllister on November 16th, a one-day coaching program that is open to all women coaches and student athletes that are interested in coaching. So you can invite them. We also have Cheryl Reeve coming from the Minnesota Lynx. Will be our two speakers for that day. So it is a Minnesota day at McAllister. Kim Chandler's here, the Director of Athletics for McAllister, who is hosting that event for us there. Another event that I'd like to tell you about is our national convention. Our first ever national convention will be in Peachtree City, Georgia, which is just south of Atlanta, May 30, 31, and June 1. So hopefully, if you are interested and have a passion about women in coaching, we hope that you will join us in Peachtree City in May. Another program we run is called Winning Careers in Athletics, and this is a student-athlete program that we run to recruit young female student-athletes into all the professions that are available to them in athletics, not just coaching, but everything, administration, officiating, anything we could talk to them about so that they can see what's a way that I can get in there. I can take my business degree and go work at the NCAA or a conference office or coaching, or how do I get into those jobs? A lot of them don't know, how do I get my foot in the door in coaching? So that's another program that we run. So I put that out there to you all to know that we would really love to collaborate. Another example of collaboration is Donna Duffy's coming to our Coaches Academy in December to do some research with our coaches that are going to be in that class. We have 42 coaches coming to Denver in December to do a needs assessment with our coaches. So you can see, I know Judy and I philosophically are very, very open to any type of collaboration that we can do. We know we cannot do this alone. It's a really, we need to come together and use all of our resources if we really want to make change, if that's really what we all stand for. So, thank you.
A lot of passion at this table about your initiatives. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Chris Shelton, who is going to speak about the International Working Group on Women in Sport, couldn't make it at the last minute. But she wanted us to share with you, and I'll put a slide up on how you can find out more about IWG. They have a conference every 4 years, and the next one is in 2014 in Helsinki, I believe. So there's a lot of international women's initiatives. We heard from some of them this morning. We have IWG, we have WSI, WomenSport International. Karin mentioned EPESCAVE. I won't repeat the acronym, but there's a lot of international women and girls in sport initiatives as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Tucker Center. I think from being here, you get a sense of what we do and who we are. I talked a little bit about the history this morning. One thing I do want to mention that is of interest to this panel, you know, our primary areas of interest are sport media, underrepresentation of girls and women in sport, and females in positions of power, lack thereof. One thing coming down the pike, and I'll look back to Cindra and the Mankato table back there, is that Cindra and I have a common interest on the lack of females of positions and power in youth sport. We've been talking a lot about elite sport, but if we really want to grow leaders from the ground up and have boys see women in positions of power that might change gender stereotypes, I believe, and so does Cindra, that we need more women at the youth sport level. So we have embarked upon a giant initiative that we hope will mirror Acosta and Carpenter's data set at the collegiate level. We have all the data from every high school in the country, from Clell Wade, and we're coding how many women are in positions of power in high school sport. And we hope to have the first launch of that data next year, and maybe every 2, maybe 10 years after that. I don't know, we'll see how we go. But I just mention that because it's important to track that so we can then see how we're creating change. For time's sake, I've been watching the chime-in questions as I've been sitting here, and there's some really good comments out there. What I'd like to do right now is, in your 30-second soundbite, all right, give us what you think the biggest challenge is for creating change for women in sport. If you had to just pick one, because there's many. You got it, only one. Okay? So I'm pulling the Doug Hartman here. Let's think big picture, all right?
Got it, Judy.
Lynda's going to start us.
Make sure it steals your idea, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the biggest challenge that I've seen in the many years that I've been involved in NAGWS is generating volunteers. And I think, you know, as I was waiting in line for lunch, I had a question: how did you become president of NAGWS? And the simple answer and the short answer is I volunteered to chair the Pathfinder Committee. And after doing that, you know, I got invited to be a part of the board of NAGWS, and then ultimately got an opportunity to serve as president. So I think if I could give one message out there to everybody in the audience, particularly the students in the house, volunteer. Don't be afraid to do it. Every single organization in this room needs help, and you can learn a lot from sitting yourself in a chair next to folks who've been around the block and who know a lot about this process.
Great. Now, speaking of that, and you gave me a great segue, let's hear it for the Tucker Center volunteers, all the grad students that are marching around in white or cream shirts. Can you guys just stand up? There's like a mass of you. They're around the corners. Stacia, there they are. Nessa's running away. 3 in particular: Jonathan Sweet, Austin Stair Calhoun, Austin, back in the Tech Shack, yep, and Julia Dutov have been instrumental. I could not have done this conference without the 3 of them and all the great, it's the best part about my job is the people I get to work with. So I just wanted to make a point of nothing, and one of the slides in the intro was nothing attributed to one individual is worth talking about. And I truly believe that's the case. So we're going to talk about the volunteers. So thank you, Lynda, for bringing that up. All right, who's next? Biggest challenge in 30 seconds.
I think that our biggest challenge is to influence the decision makers to value diversity, to not just talk about it, but to walk the talk.
Kind of going hand in hand with that, but on the other spectrum is one of our challenges is to get women to value what they bring to the table that's different than what men bring to the table, and having confidence in that, in those qualities. Lots of confidence building.
it's similar in the same vein, is the idea of getting men to share the leadership, to be able to have them give up some power so that women can also be involved in the decision-making at all levels.
Kathy?
I think for us, for Sharp Center, and really one of the key reasons that this center was created is to take what research we have and all the research that's been presented today and use those findings to really impact change in policy. So making that translation from research to policy. And that's one of the reasons that the Women's Sports Foundation came together to create this partnership with the University of Michigan, is to leverage that research and ultimately create the change that we want to see. So that's a challenge, but also an opportunity.
They're always hand in hand, aren't they? When we started the conference, I challenged us all to think about how we can generate new collaborations with people sitting in this room. And one thing Judy and Celia didn't tell you is that how their alliance got started was at a conference where, if I get the story right, it's a pretty cool story. Chris Voles, who is a development officer for the Women's Sport Foundation and used to be in our athletic department here at the U, laid down a challenge to say, whoever can put $100 on the table will get the opportunity to get mentored by one of the women in the room, and it was NAGWS, right? And Celia jumped up, put her money down, and she picked Judy. And this was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
And look at what's happened. So who's going to put their money, $100 down on the table, not literally, but figuratively, and find a mentor in this room that will lead to creating change? They're doing it. That's why I invited these people here, because they're doing what we're talking about. So I challenge all of us to put your money down and find somebody to collaborate with today in a little tiny way. That's how we're going to move the needle. So thank you guys for sharing all the wonderful initiatives you guys are doing. I know there's much more you could have talked about as well. And I really look forward to the things that we're going to generate out of this together. So thank you. And with that, let's take the best question. Who has the best question of the day? Cheryl, shocking that you would stick your hand up first. No, you can go. Give us your best question.
This isn't actually my question, but one that I noticed on the chime-in, so I'm not taking credit for it. But I kept seeing comments come up about how you all might be working together, or it seems like there's this trend or move towards organizations partnering with universities. And so what are the connections among the groups, if you've thought about that or if you're thinking about that? And it just seems that everyone's mission is the same, and there's these kind of disparate groups. And so what are maybe the politics of that, or what does that vision look like? I think is what I was seeing come up in the chime-in.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I thought it was a great question. And I think right now, those people in this room are seeing the starting point of some really great joint collaborations between the groups you saw on the screen. I don't think we have a plan yet, but I think we're trying to generate the collaborative spirit of there's a lot of work to do. We all have similar interests. Let's do this together, because we can accomplish so much more together than individually as a center. So I don't know if we don't know yet, but it's starting today. That was a good question. So whoever posed that on Chime-In, that was a good one.
And I was just going to say, if you have ideas, we would love to talk to you about them, because we actually have a meeting tonight after the conference to discuss some of our ideas for collaboration. So please share your thoughts with us.
Yeah. Great. Well, if you have another burning question, just so you know, all the text that's going in Chime-In, we are keeping and archiving. So I think there's a lot of things and ideas in the room that we can't get to due to time, but it is being captured, and hopefully we can, address some of those questions, because they're very good. So let's give it up to my fellow collaborators. And we have a little bit of a break, so where's Bria? Did she run away? Where is she? Well, what we'll do for right now is just everybody kind of stand up. We have about 10 or 15 minutes, so let's just move about.
Ours is 2 weeks away from this. Let's figure out, an organization system where we can all contribute.